Boom, we're live. This is Steven the Arcane Bear. It's a beautiful day in Canada, around 8 in the morning, October 25th, Thursday. We're going to dive in. We're going to be taking a look today at Bitcoin, Litecoin, Omisego, Veritaseum, Populous, Cloak coin, and our favorite the last 2 weeks, Raven. Now, with that in mind, let's just start off by diving right into the charts. Now, we're going to start by looking at Bitcoin, our favorite of all the tokens, our unit of account, our money, and as far as we can tell, one of the most important creations in the last 50 years in terms of financial freedom, as well as the empowerment of the individuals. So we've been following this triangle for quite some time now, and we're getting closer and closer into a breakout point. Whether that's a breakdown point as well, that could be possible. And even if that's the case, if it goes lower, we're going to be doing our best to fill up all of our pockets with Bitcoin as it goes. We do have a little slight concern, though, that if Bitcoin does break this support level of higher lows that we've been following for the last, well, since July here, that it could potentially bring the other alternative digital assets with it. So we have not been sitting in those, although recently we decided to start trading Ravencoin, which worked out for the benefit as Ravencoin has gone up over 300% in the last 2 weeks. There are some other really positive indicators that have started to come out, though, and we're going to start off actually by looking at Veritaseum and Cloak coin. Now, Veritaseum and Cloak coin were one of the ones on our watch list that we wanted to add when the altcoin hunting season started to show up. Now, when they started to show up, we didn't really know what the indicator would be. We figured around October 19th, we would probably start to see some of those indicators show up. Bitcoin jumped to around 1117. It's jumped around to $7,400 because of the tether issue. When that happened, although it was, we believe, a lagging indicator, we believe news is lagging indicators, not leading. We believe there's already a lot of momentum into the ecosystem and that news just happens to be around the same time, causing a sentiment spike. Now, Veritaseum looks to us as it just made a new wave 1 and then 3. Now, we mentioned this in our private Telegram channel, so for those of you that are interested, please join the Telegram channel. Those are down in the links below. We said, oh, look, here's a wave 1 entry, and then we saw this beautiful wave 3. We saw 100% gain in Veritaseum in the last week from that call as well. Looking over very quickly, if you roll to Cloak coin, yesterday in the group we said, oh, we believe we've hit a wave 1, right, which was actually right here. We considered this our wave 1. Oddly enough, it was a small one, but it was higher than this last point. And then from there, we rose around 30% with Cloak coin yesterday, dropping just 4% today, making a new retracement. So here was actually the top of the wave 1, and higher than this lower wave is what you're looking for a wave 1 indicator. So beautiful sentiments there. So Cloak coin broke out of its little ascending triangle, which is nice. So now we see a new positive wave 1 for Cloak coin. Now that also means that the rest of the other tokens that we are interested in could be very close to these types of patterns. So with NEO, we can tell we're actually below where a lot of the volume space is. This is probably not trading advice, but this is an area where we're going to keep a really close eye on Bitcoin over the next 2 weeks to make sure that it doesn't break down. And if it doesn't, then we're going to start entering our other alternative asset hunting season. And that is really, really positive. In the momentum overall, DigiByte as well, again, we can see we're below some of our main volume lines. This new volume profile, shout out to Mr. DG. Thank you for sharing this one with me. I really like this volume profile. For those of you that don't know, you can actually upgrade your TradingView account to have all these cool indicators. So we've been playing around with a few new ones, and the volume profile is one of our new favorites. So thank you for sharing that with us. Really appreciate the learning and the growth as we go. Now, Omisego as well, right down near the bottom. We had made a mark here about 2 months ago for where we thought we'd see a change in direction. We haven't seen a wave 1 come out of Omisego yet, but we will be looking for that. Probably, let's change this line now that we've actually started to break through these dates. We'd want a breakout of wave 1 to be about here. So if we have a wave 1 indicator for Omisego breakout here, we're going to be looking to enter on the wave 2. Just as we had seen with Cloak coin, obviously those wave 1s and wave 3s can be very powerful. This is just a guess drawing here. Again, to keep our eyes on Omisego, I'll leave that there. It will stay saved. Cardano as well, well below the volume profile. I do suspect that depending on what happens again to Bitcoin's price, it won't go much lower than this. Unless Bitcoin starts to run, in which case, obviously, because we are charting all these tokens in a relationship to Bitcoin, we could see something similar to last year. Although the next question, or the really obvious one, becomes, what are we going to see with the stock market crashing? So before I go into that, I want to take one quick look at Ravencoin and Veritaseum, because I know you guys are interested in both of those tokens, and so are we. Sorry, back to Ravencoin. So with Ravencoin, we have been watching this beautiful, let's actually go to the Ravencoin Binance. It's a significantly better charting pattern because there's more volume there. On the daily, it's looking beautiful. We could consider these almost a 1 and a 3 now. So we're starting to get into some new territory where we're going to have to reassess what our wave count is. But we have, again, lower volume profiles everywhere between 600 and 630. And then we have an even lower profile here, again, between 400 as well as 530. Now, this 400 range, it seems very unlikely that we would hit that. Again, I know that the market cap of Ravencoin is only around $100 million. That's not a lot of money. And the X16R hash in this program is fundamentally fantastic. For any of those that invested in Bitcoin and know why they invested in this space, at least conceptually or philosophically speaking, we are interested in decentralization. The X16R hash that the Raven algorithm is using is actually very supportive of more decentralization, because you can't use ASIC miners, which again, it makes it easier for the average person to jump in and play the game, not being pushed out of the market by companies like Bitmain, which is what we saw with Bitcoin. So anything we can do to further the decentralization wave in tech, I think, is extremely valuable. So we're going to keep that in mind. We've got a really close eye on Ravencoin. We've been making some great runs. We were trading it on the day chart yesterday. Able to pull in 30% gains on some of these moves here. We started to stagger into a channel. Again, then we've got some lower volume profiles. I actually had a friend come over the other day too, and he was working, because I don't normally trade to the downside. I only look for sells on the high. I try to find tokens before they're recognized for their value. Obviously, with Neo or Ant shares, we were in at pennies. Same with Cardano, we got in at pennies. So it was always the highs, so we were always extending the charts. But now that we had started doing a little bit more swing day trading, when there's so much volatility after a wave 5, it's really nice to catch some of these big spikes, because you can almost you can add quite a bit more into your little bag there if you're interested. So the reverse fibs are actually better for charting downwards. Again, mostly from the 1 to the 0 here. Your extensions, I guess you could look at those as breakdown points. You could break down to the 1618, which actually be just above wave 1. And interestingly enough here, if you chart from this lower aspect, it's going to bring us close to the 236. So they often end up very, very similar. It's one of the reasons why music can end up very, very similar. Believe it or not, there's like a fundamental pattern here that everyone's paying attention to. The Fibonacci sequence itself is a very, very powerful pattern, and we find it everywhere around the world. So you can't really escape its fundamentals, but what you can do is obviously bend it depending on which way you're looking at it. And seeing as we rarely chart to the downside, we had never used it like that, and we're happy to know that you can. You can actually chart to the downside. So for anyone that I had said you're charting it backwards, well, if you're charting to the downside, yes, this is a great way to chart to the downside. Although one of the things here that's not really functional, at least in my particular assertion here, if we go to Bitcoin, is if you are charting to the downside of a token, you can't go below -0. So it does not hold water for the true extensions on retracements, although it definitely does it for the short term in relationship to the previous highs that you have had and the other forms that are there. So with that in mind, we're going to be opening the newsletter and the private bear den again soon. We've got a few new writers, content creators to help out with the newsletter, the daily calls, deep dives into the tokens that we're interested in. So we're working out some of the logistics of that right now. Very excited to bring more of that content to you. And lastly, we're going to leave it off with the stock market crash. We saw, well, not the stock market crash. I guess the sentiments here are part of the dangerous idea. But we see the S&P 500 yesterday was down, was up 1.36% today. But just over the last 5 days, we were down. We dropped, let's see, 1 month. Yeah, we had dropped 100. Let's see, almost 300 points. 350 points, maybe even more over the last week or the last 2 or 3 weeks here. These are big hits for the stock market, and something actually very positive about the momentum here, because we had always wondered is what would happen to Bitcoin, and Bitcoin has been staying solid like a champion inside of this tiny trading range here. That's a beautiful thing. Obviously, everyone loves the volatility in the crypto and Bitcoin space, but one of the things that we often forget is that these are supposed to act as money and currency, and therefore we would like them to be a little more stable. Maybe not right now, but in the future, money and currency would like to have some sort of stability. That way merchants and customers know that what they're buying and what they get at the end of the day is relatively similar. It's one of the difficulties that we have in Venezuela right now, is that if you go to pay by the end of your lunch, inflation may have raised so much in that short period of time that now your lunch is more expensive, and that's of detriment to the customer as well as the merchant, and that doesn't make for a great money or for a great currency. So with that in mind, give us those thumbs up. We really appreciate all your guys' support and all the new Bear family members that have joined us over the last little while. The Telegram channel has been exploding. We have over 3,000 members in there. It's always good. So many supportive, intelligent, caring, compassionate individuals willing to learn and help each other out. And I know it can get difficult sometimes when there's so much emotional volatility, but please remember, one of the most important investments you can make is in your own education and your own understanding. So as we learn and grow together, that's what we can hope for the best. This is Teal for the Arcane Bear. We're signing off for the rest of the day. Tomorrow we will fly to Seoul, South Korea. We're looking forward to a few days there. We've got a few great interviews and some really cool adventurepreneurial ideas that are coming up, and I will be turning the vlog back online. So one more time, give us those thumbs up, pound that subscribe button, hit that little bell, leave your thoughts, your comments, whether they're supportive or criticisms. I love it either way. We'll see you guys on the other side. This is Tio with the Arcane Bear signing off for the rest of the afternoon. Ciao.